Hello, hello, welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome back to another episode of Living Richly with Curo, episode number 32. Every week we
Yeah.
say it. It's so awesome. Glad we're on a roll.
Yes. Yes, we are
So much
we're
fun.
committed.
We are rocking and rolling. So thank you for joining us again this week. This week's episode is one of Atrice's favorites to talk about. So I can't wait to hear all the insights that she has to share with us. We are going to talk about how to pick the right credit card, which is such an important and overwhelming thing, I think, to decide. So we
Yeah.
will give you kind of our pro tips and things to consider about getting a new credit card, whether you're in the market for a new credit card or just maximizing the cards that you may already have. So before we get into that, my name is Ann McCabe. I am the CEO of Curo Private Wealth. Always forget to introduce myself. And partners here with Atrisa.
Hello, I am Teresa Roberts, COO and partner at Curo.
All right. So now that we got our intros out of the way, we are going to do a quick A team catch up before we get into our topic of the day. So, this is our first recording that we're doing together post Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And you did brave the airports, which I'm like, mad respect to you. So, how was your Thanksgiving with your family?
It was nice. So I'm for those of you who are new to our story, I am originally from Savannah, Georgia. It's where I grew up, and it's where the majority of my family, both my mother and father's family, still lives. So going home is always a big deal. It's a good time to catch up, to see my grandmother and aunts and uncles and cousins. So my sister and I decided, I guess what we would call maybe at the last minute, to do a very short trip to Savannah. And by short, I mean 48 hours short.
Yeah.
But I think that we got lucky with the airport just in the timing of our flights. So because we left Wednesday evening and then flew back super early Saturday morning, we missed, I believe, the most of the holiday rush in the airport because our travel was actually pretty smooth and easy. I had planned for us to arrive at Baltimore Airport an hour ahead of when I would normally get to the airport. And we ended up just, sitting at the bar for an hour. Yeah, because we were there way too early because it was quiet. So we got really lucky. But it was a nice time, short. So it was jam packed, but it was really nice. It's always great to see my grandmother and my uncle who listens to this podcast. So shout out to my uncle
Shout
if you're
out to
listening to this.
Uncle.
He was like telling
Thank you.
everybody at Thanksgiving, like, my niece does a podcast. My niece and her partner, they do this podcast. He's like showing people our Instagram. This is my niece. She does a podcast. So hi, Uncle
Thank
Corey.
you, Uncle. We love you.
So yeah, but it was a really nice time. Ate too much, way too much sugar. It was like, how many desserts can you have, right? So I wanted to try everything. So now I'm in kind of a detox mode now, getting ready for before we hit it again for Christmas. But it was good, really good. How about you?
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm so glad your travels were
Yes.
stress less and
I was prepared for
peaceful
the
because
worst. Yeah, I was
yeah,
prepared for the worst. And it felt like luck. I was like, I think we just
yeah,
timed these flights right because, yeah,
I
it
think
was
you're right.
surprisingly easy.
Yeah. I mean, I was reading that it was one of the busiest Thanksgivings we've had travel wise in years. So I think
Yeah,
you
which
timed
is
it really
shocking
well.
to me given the cost of flights.
Oh my gosh, I know.
When we first moved here almost 10 years ago, we were able to fly home round trip for maybe $300, maybe
Yeah.
less if we got lucky. Flights to Savannah from here are double that now. So the fact
Yeah.
that airports are still crowded with airlines and what they're charging for flights is super surprising to me. But I guess I
Yeah.
was there too. So
Exactly, you were. And flights are booked too. I think it's also
yes.
because a lot of airlines have reduced the number of flights because I haven't been on a flight recently where it hasn't been 100% booked. I mean,
Yeah.
and if anything, they're asking for people to volunteer to take another flight because they're, over capacity. So it is crazy though.
Yeah. But
Well, I'm glad you had a good time.
it was nice. It was nice.
Yay.
How about you? Tell me
Yay.
about your Thanksgiving.
Great time. We went to Wally's parents who live here
Right?
locally. So it was the first time I hadn't been with my family for Thanksgiving, I don't know, ever, I want to say. So that was
That's
different.
a, or I said, that's a big change.
Yeah, it was definitely different, but it was lovely. His mom made an incredible spread and made me vegan mashed potatoes and vegan sweet potatoes, and just went over and above with the spread. So that was really nice, and it was great. Boys had a good time. We had all four boys with us, so we did some football and some cooking and ate way too much food as well. And then I did have the opportunity to have dinner with my mom on Saturday, just she and I, which was really lovely. So at least I got to see her and spend some quality time. And I was so proud of her. I was worried that she was going to be really upset that we weren't there on Thanksgiving, and she was very understanding and, said, as long as you're here for Christmas. I was like, we will be there for Christmas. So I was very proud of her.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And I know it was different because you're from a pretty big family.
Yes.
So I know it's probably a very big change of pace for you, but I'm glad it was nice. And it's so
Yeah.
thoughtful of Wally's mom to accommodate your dietary restrictions and make you yummy vegan dishes. That was really
I
thoughtful.
know. I know. I was so grateful. Yeah, my brother was like, "So, was the Thanksgiving dinner table talk just like it is at the McCabe household?" And I was like, no, not so much. We go into
Yeah.
all sorts of inappropriate areas that we did not go into with Wally's parents. So, very different
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
and different vibe, but it was
Different
lovely.
vibes. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it was a nice time. And I'm glad the boys had a good time.
Yes, exactly. Me too. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone. We hope you had a wonderful time, ate too much food, all those good
Yes.
things. So
Yeah.
thanks for the updates. So let's get into our topic of today, which is picking a credit card. And just as a reminder, Teresa and I are here every week with you to educate you, to inspire you, and to empower you to make really smart financial decisions and to live the life that you imagine for yourself and for your families. And so every week we try to pick a topic, a real question, a real issue that people have, and we try to give you some tips and advice on how to approach these financial decisions. So, today we're going to talk about picking a credit card. And one of the reasons that picking the right credit card for you matters is it's kind of a game changer when you pick the right credit card that matches with your lifestyle and your spending habits. And so it can positively impact your financial position. But on the other hand, picking the wrong credit card can be pretty detrimental, whether that's additional or hidden fees, or you're paying for rewards or perks that you're not actually going to use. So it's a really, really important decision. And today we're going to talk about how to approach the decision of which credit card or cards you should use moving forward. So, Teresa, why don't you kick us off with the first thing that we almost always start with when we're
Yes.
talking about anything?
Yes. So you have to start with understanding your goals. What is your intention for this card? Because people get credit cards for different reasons. So I am a spender. So maximizing spending rewards is important for me. But for some people, it may be building credit, right, through a credit card. So you want to start thinking about what is important to you and also your spending habits. What kind of things do you spend regularly on that would help maximize the benefit of a credit card for you? So, if you're looking for building credit, you want to look at things like secured credit cards, things that are typically backed by some sort of a deposit. You want to have one that has no annual fee. And this is a way that you can start spending. Now, this also means you're going to have probably a lower spending limit, but it is a good way to start building credit history with a revolving line of credit, or even rebuilding credit history if you may have had some negative credit history reporting in the past. If you're looking for rewards, again, think about those spending habits. What things do you spend money on? Do you travel? Do you do a lot of grocery shopping? Are you a traveling salesman that spends a lot on gas in a vehicle? You want to find cards that reward you for the way you normally spend. And of course, also important is to look at those annual fees and then also the APR. If you are going to carry a balance on a credit card, meaning that you're not going to pay off completely what you've spent at the closing of your statement balance every month, then you want to look for ones that have lower APRs, or maybe even some sort of a 0% introductory APR, which many credit card companies will offer in a way to lure you into using their product. So again, like most financial decisions we talk about as advisors, you start with understanding what the goal is for you, what's important for you, and then how you spend.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to double click on this, it is something that we talk about so much, whether it's picking a credit card or, next week's episode, which is going to be buying or leasing a car, or when we're talking about your investments. We find that sometimes people jump over the goals or they
Mm-hmm.
ignore the identifying the goals and they go right to the decision. But if you don't really take the time to identify the goals and what's important and what you're looking for, then you're probably going to end up with a mismatch of whatever we're talking about, whether it's the
Right.
credit card or the car or whatnot. So I think it's so important to always start with identifying those goals and just taking a moment to really think through that before you make a decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what's important for you may not be important for someone else, or may not be critical to someone else's financial situation. So your own personal assessment of that is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, number two is identify the key features and compare these key features when you are considering a number of credit cards before making a decision. So, not all credit cards are equal. As Teresa just mentioned, something that could be a benefit to you may not be a benefit to another person. So, it's really important to identify these features. So, we have a list of features that you want to take note of as you start doing your research. The first is annual fees. So, if a card has an annual fee, chances are it will offer some sort of perk. If you are going to take advantage of those perks, then perhaps it makes sense to pay the fee. If, on the other hand, you are not going to take advantage of those perks and the fee is just wasted money for you, then we would suggest you try to find a card that does not have a fee if it's not really going to be worth it for you. Number two is the APR. This is the interest rate. So, Teresa mentioned if you are in a situation where you are carrying a balance, so you are not paying off your credit card every month, then you obviously want to look for a card with a very, as low as possible, I should say, a low interest rate. The reality is credit card interest rates are inherently high. And as financial planners and financial advisors, we would discourage you from carrying a balance on your credit card because it is a very expensive kind of debt. But we know stuff happens. And, times people, for a lot of different reasons, have to carry a credit card balance. So if you are in that situation, try to find the lowest interest rate you possibly can based on your credit score. Number three is rewards. So look for things like points or miles or cash back. And this is where, back to Teresa's point of identifying your goals, you want to make sure that you identify what is most important to you. If you love traveling and you'd like a card with travel perks, then that's what you should look at. If you don't really travel a lot or you're not into travel, then maybe a cash back, or points sort of card makes the most sense for you. So think about your spending habits and your hobbies and align the credit card rewards with your situation. Next is welcome bonuses. Many cards offer generous sign on bonuses. Typically, you'll have to hit a certain amount of spending over the first few months to qualify for those bonuses, but that is something nice to be aware of going into a card. And then lastly, be aware and be careful of fees. You want to look for things like balance transfer fees if you're looking to transfer a balance, foreign transaction fees, late payment fees, that kind of thing, so that you're aware of all of the fees that are associated with a card before you sign up for one.
Yeah. And I think the fees are a super important thing to remember, specifically foreign transaction, because just from experience, I realized that there are a lot of people who don't realize that they get assessed foreign transaction fees when they purchase things with a credit card outside of their resident country. And that's a fee on every purchase. So there are lots of travel cards, if you are a person who travels frequently, that does waive those fees. But if you are traveling and you're just using, for example, a cash rewards card, It may not. And every purchase that you made, including your hotel stay while you were in the foreign country, may be assessed sometimes up to a 1% foreign transaction fee on every purchase. So be mindful of things like that. So, the other thing you also want to do when you're preparing for a credit card is to check your credit score. Now, we did an entire episode about managing credit in our episode number 28. So please go back and listen to that one if you missed it. It's all about the important way of monitoring credit, managing it in a healthy way. But knowing that score is going to be key in knowing which cards you'll qualify for. Different credit card companies and card types have minimum credit scores they're looking for you to qualify and actually be approved for those types of cards. So going into the process, having an idea of where your credit score is helps you to sort of narrow down what you know you will qualify for. And then you also want to research and compare options. And there are all kinds of resources now to help you walk through sources. So Credit Karma, NerdWallet, Bankrate, these are all free websites that you can go that will give you side-by-side comparisons of what cards work best for you. You may also want to talk to your bank. So if you are banking with a larger bank like Bank of America, who offers their own credit cards, you can also talk to a banker to help determine what cards they have that might work best for you and give you the best value, the best bang for your buck, per se, in the use of your credit cards.
Yeah, and a lot of those sites, what's cool about them too is you can see actual reviews from users of cards. So we're about to talk about red flags to watch out for, but one of the ways to prevent yourself from getting into a situation where there's, a red flag that you weren't aware of is by reading some of these reviews. So take a look at what people are saying who actually have that card. And, people are very quick to let you know if there was a gotcha that they weren't aware of until it got them. So make sure to take a look at those reviews and then also try to calculate how much value this card could bring to you. So back to those perks, try to put a dollar value on the perks that are applicable to you so that you can try, especially if there is a fee, you can try to assess if it is valuable and worth it to you. So let's talk about some red flags to watch out for. We've mentioned the interest rate issue before, but we really want to mention that again because interest rates are key to understand when it comes to credit cards, again, especially if you're going to have a balance. So make sure you know what that interest rate looks like in the event that you were not to pay it off. And remember that credit card interest rates are variable. So they are not fixed like a 30-year fixed mortgage or a 5-year car loan. These are variable. So in this environment where we are in a decreasing interest rate environment, hopefully we'll start to see credit card rates come down. They take their time going down and they skyrocket up pretty quickly, but hopefully they will start to come down. So make sure to be aware of the interest rates. Next, and this is a very unwelcome surprise for some folks. So deferred interest on promotional 0% APR offers. Oftentimes, if you do not pay off the balance within the time period that you're given, maybe that's 12 months or 18 months, they will retroactively charge you the interest from day one. So please be very careful if you're transferring your balance and you've got 0% for 12 months, do the math, figure out the monthly payment, make sure you get that paid off before the 12-month comes due, or they could potentially go back to day one and charge you that interest. And as we were just talking about, that can be a lot of money because interest rates on credit cards are very high. And then lastly, we want you to be careful about what we call complex reward structures, or when it's hard, they make it challenging to actually redeem your points. So a credit card may look good on paper, may look really attractive, but if you've got to jump through hoops to redeem points or to actually qualify for the rewards, then maybe you skip over that and, go to a different card.
Yep. And then just a few other sort of bonus tips when you're looking for cards. a big rule, and this is with a lot of things that require credit pulls, is don't apply for too many cards all at once. When you are applying for credit cards, there is obviously an inquiry done on your credit file, and this could hurt your credit score if you do too many applications at one time. So be mindful of that. And then also consider having multiple cards if you can manage them responsibly that give you different benefits or that have different strengths. For example, you may have a cash rewards credit card that you use for groceries and gas because that maximizes those benefits for you. And then you also have a travel card where you book flights and hotels and, spend when you're out of the country to waive the foreign transaction fee. So managing multiple cards is also a benefit for you so that you can take advantage of both their strengths and the way that you like to spend. I also recommend is really get to know your credit card. There are lots of cards that also have what I call hidden bonus features, things that you may not have thought about. For example, there are several travel cards now that provide you rental car coverage when you are renting cars, or that may provide you some sort of travel reimbursement if a flight is delayed and you have to stay an extra night in the city. Just learned that one from personal experience coming back from Colombia. I got reimbursed for my extra night in Miami through my credit card. So once you pick a credit card and you start to use it, make sure you understand all that you can get out of it, because I am always in favor of maximizing the benefit you can get from your credit card, especially seeing as how the bank is going to charge you anywhere from 12 to 32% on a balance you carry. You might as well get the absolute most from the credit card companies.
Yeah, for sure. So are you team, Teresa, multiple cards? Like, do you have different cards that you use for groceries or gas or shopping? Or are you team just like one card, keep it simple?
I'm a one card. I understand the value, though, in having two, but I am a one card only because I have chosen travel as my main benefit. I do a lot of travel. I probably take 1 to 2 international trips in a year. So being able to really maximize that on a travel card is really important for me. So I like to do all of my spending on that card to get every point that I absolutely can. And then the card that I use, and I won't mention it because I don't want to give any free advertisements on our podcast, but it also has bonus features for certain spending, right? So rideshare gets more points, streaming services, right? So I even have like my Netflix and Hulu charging to my card because I get more bonuses for those kinds of purchases. But I also have, friends and clients who like the two, who do both the cash rewards and, let's say, like a travel. I'm a one card kind of girl though. What about you?
Yeah. I 100%. I'm a one card
Yeah.
also. I like to keep it simple. I mean, I told the story. I do have a backup, right? Because my main
Yeah.
card, I think I already shared, is an Amex, but some
Mm-hmm.
places don't accept Amex. And so that one day when my son was trying to buy V-Bucks and I had to use the backup card and I forgot about it and
Forgot it.
almost had a late payment for like 30 something dollars. But yeah, I try to keep it simple also, and we enjoy travel as well. So that's what we're trying to maximize. I have a friend who has a spreadsheet and has, I don't know, probably 10 different credit cards and knows like
Wow.
which one he uses for groceries, which one he uses for gas, does balance transfers, does like just crazy amounts of
Oh
things to
yeah.
try to
That's way too
maximize.
complicated for my
Yeah,
brain.
and I'm like, "How much time do you actually spend on this? Like, when are you doing your job?" So, he enjoys it and, it's kind of like a hobby for him, so
Yeah.
God bless him, not for me.
Yeah. That's interesting though. But yeah, I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah. He'll get, like, new cards and, have a tracker to make sure he hits whatever minimum is, or he gets 50,000 bonus miles or whatever, so, anyway, it's
Yeah.
a whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, if it works, right? If it works and you can manage it responsibly, and that's how he finds satisfaction in using his cars, and it makes sense. But that's way too complicated, I think, even for most people. Because
I agree.
I'm a spreadsheet person, and even that
Yep.
just seems overly complicated for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. No, me too. And I'm like, I'm just a huge person about how we spend our time, right? So is
Right.
that
Right.
really the best use of your time? I don't know. For him, sure.
Sure.
But yeah, team one card over here too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful. If you did find this valuable, please share it with a friend, leave us a review, give us those 5 stars. And we want more questions from you. So send those in to podcast at Curo Private Wealth. If we answer your question, which we love doing on the
Hmm.
podcast, we will send you a $10 Amazon gift card. Perfect timing, before the
Yeah.
holidays. Sure, you can find a use or two for an Amazon gift card. So shoot us in your questions. And now it is time for our closing thoughts. So, what closing thought do you have for us today, Atrisa?
Yeah. So we had a conversation yesterday, and we're both, I think, both in the professional and personal 2025 strategy phase of life.
Yeah.
So, I was thinking about ways to improve my personal life, improve the way I feel, improve my health, and then also how to show up and do things better in my professional life as well for next year. And one of the things that came up was how important running has been for me in the past, and how I've noticed myself both mentally and physically not be as strong because I haven't done it consistently in a while. So I think Anne has shared on this podcast before that she meditates, or that you meditate, and that you even do it with, your boys at night sometimes. And meditation has always been hard for me as a person whose brain is like constantly running on some speed, even at night. And I realized that running is the one time, or the one activity I do, where all the background processing turns off. And my
Mm,
brain is just focused on my breath and the steps, right? My cadence, my pace, and what's happening around me. I mean, I'm completely aware, obviously, because I prefer to run outdoors, but all of the other stuff that's normally running, all of those tabs that are normally open in my brain, like processing some in the background, they shut off. And I realized, because I haven't run consistently probably since the summer, that I miss that. I miss that time to just turn it all off. So one of the things that I'm hoping to do as I get back to, as I reacquaint myself with fit Atrisa, how important that is for me. And not just from like my physical cardio health, but from my mental health, to have those times when you can just turn all of the other stuff off. It's so important to help me process and to dial back the anxiety, because I think that constant running also drives anxiety, and always being worried about something and waiting for the other shoe to drop, and having those moments, even if it's just for 2 or 3 miles, to just turn it all off and focus on nothing else but getting to the end, is really important for me. So I would encourage everyone, as you start to make plans and resolutions for 25, to decide what kind of things are beneficial to you, not just from a physical, but also a mental and emotional standpoint, and how you can reincorporate those things in your life. So hopefully we can reawaken fit Atrisa and get her back in the
yeah.
coming weeks.
She's there.
Yeah.
She's
She's
there.
not she's
It's
not
like,
that far hidden
no,
in the
exactly.
background.
I was going to say, she's still very much present, very much
Yeah.
with us. So
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And as we were talking about yesterday, too, I think so many people are intimidated by the idea of meditation because
Mhm.
they can't, quote unquote, turn off their brain. But as we were talking about, part of meditation is not turning off your brain. It's, focusing on your breath, for
Right.
example, and then just being aware when you get distracted, which happens to all of us, and then just coming back, like, no big deal. Oh, I was distracted. I was thinking about this or feeling that. Note it and then come back to your breath, and you're good to go. That is the practice of meditation, but it can also come in so many different styles. So for you, meditation is running outside, and that's awesome. And for other people, it could be swimming, or it could be just sitting there quietly breathing, right? So it's not kind of a one size fits all.
Yeah.
So that's
But it is
cool.
important. It's important to find a way to center yourself and
Hmm.
turn down all of the energy that you feel all the time occasionally, and reset. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, for sure.
More to come
More to come. Can't wait for your updates. But it's
today.
cold. It's really cold. So I'm worried
Yeah,
about you
but it's
running
not
in this.
bad though. It's not bad. And again, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I have winter run gear. Like, I saw it. I was like, oh, I have the gloves and the hempen and the jacket. Actually, a really nice jacket. I love it. So I've run in the cold before. I can do it again.
Okay. All right. I was going to give you an out, but
No, no,
very
no.
well.
No, it's good. Sometimes it's almost easier, I think, to run in the cold too, because the
Mm,
humidity and the heat can be hard
yeah,
in the summer when you're doing that kind of running. So it's not bad. You just have to be dressed appropriately. But I've got the stuff. I can do it.
you got
No
the gear.
excuses. Yeah, no excuses.
All right. All right. Well, my closing thought of the day is kind of funny. It comes thanks to one of the people at the mall on Saturday, one of the traffic guides. Okay, so for whatever reason, my mom and I decided to meet for dinner at a mall down on the Saturday after Black Friday. So that's like Black Friday weekend, basically. Yeah. Anyway, so there are people who are helping guide traffic because it's the holidays. And this one guy, he had his little light
Mm-hmm.
stick and he's guiding traffic and he is literally dancing as he's guiding traffic. He's like, doing this and like doing that and like dancing. And I'm like, dude, that is freaking awesome. Okay. This guy is outside in the
Yeah,
freezing
that's what
cold.
it
It's
was cold this
dark,
weekend. Yes.
so cold. It's dark. He's like guiding traffic at a mall. I mean, please, right? And yet he is experiencing joy, allowing
Hmm.
himself to have fun, providing joy to those of us around him who are just observing, right? Just waiting to make our turns. And I was like, I am channeling that energy, man. Like, no matter
Yeah.
what I do over the next couple of weeks, I am going to remember this man. Just going to have fun. I could be like washing the dishes, which I do quite a bit,
Hmm.
but I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have fun when I'm washing the dishes. I'm going to have fun when I'm, doing otherwise very boring tasks. So shout out to traffic man at
Yeah,
Tyson's
to the
Mall in
mall traffic
Virginia.
guy. Oh, you were at
Yeah.
Tyson's?
Oh yeah. It's
Tyson's
the
was
only mall,
chaotic
really.
4 weeks ago.
I know. But it's the only mall that's like alive in
Yeah.
the area. Let's be
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So anyway, I'm grateful to him for just inspiring the idea of having fun no matter what we're doing.
Yeah. Thanks, mall traffic guy, for that inspiration.
Yes, exactly. All right, y'all. Well, that wraps us for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Share, like, review, all the things, and we will see you back here next week.
Yep, yep. Until
Until then.
then, live richly, guys.